I'm Haley Lawson, and this is report number 5, and I'm doing my observation hours over at Gordon ISD. So as for the community, since Gordon is such a small town, this affects the classroom in terms of relationships. They have very close-knit relationships not only with their peers, but with their teachers as well. And I noticed that they know a lot about the different aspects of each other's lives, and they're oftentimes talking about each other's family members. And they just have a very comfortable classroom environment, and everyone's able to joke around with each other, which you might not see in some of the bigger districts. As for instructional planning and assessment, like I mentioned in some of the previous videos, they have very low parental involvement, and not only in the classroom but the entire school. So the amount of homework that Ms. Ford sends home with them is very limited because they're not getting this help at home with this homework, and oftentimes they're bringing it back blank. And as for the class as a whole, like I mentioned in one of the previous videos, they just didn't have a really good kindergarten experience. They didn't learn much in this class, and they came in very low to first grade as a result. So this impacts the way that Ms. Ford teaches. She's having to take in consideration this when she's making her lesson plans, and oftentimes she's having to go back and reteach things that they should have already learned in kindergarten. This seemed to be especially prevalent in some of the flashcard games that they played, because they basically had a simple word on there and they had to read it or tell me what the word was, and a lot of times they didn't know the word, and I would try to have them sound it out and they couldn't even sound it out, and a lot of times they just guessed it based on the first letter of that word. So some of the critical factors that I observed in my classroom, one of them was repetition. So my mentor teacher uses this a lot when she's giving directions to something they're about to do. She just wants to make sure that the goal is clear and that she said enough times that it's kind of embedded in their brain. Something that I thought was cool was that a lot of times when the students ask a question over something that she just mentioned, she'll be like, well, what did I just say? And a lot of times they don't know the answer because they weren't listening, and so some of their classmates will chime in and say, well, this is what she said, but she just has them repeat it back to her, so it's just like even more repetitive. As for the emotional states, Ms. Ford incorporates these fun activities into her lessons to give students a positive emotion on the topics that are being covered. So this is great since positive emotion events get priority in our memory. And the last one was error correction. So my mentor teacher always corrects students when they are wrong and makes them go back and fix these mistakes. She's really good at catching the mistakes early on, and she doesn't wait for them to like turn in this work that they made mistakes on and give them a bad grade. She corrects them immediately, and so that students can see what they've done incorrectly right away. And that's it.